What are signs that war is starting soon? Well, here in Australia they just announced that we will no longer be playing any part in the Afghanistan war once our last troops are out, and they straight up said they're more worried about China invading Taiwan, so that's a good hint. Also the $70 billion budget increase into our armed forces. I'm really hoping it's a political ploy to deflect from the fact the government's a bit shit with, organizing COVID. But watching Hong Kong over the last couple of years has been scary. Lack of information from your government to reduce information supply for foreign intelligence. Massive troops movement and mobilization. Troops equals employees when it's civil war, and the state's executives involved don't want to tip civilians, or other governments, off that they are staging a coup or war. But bomb are dropped from air. Blockade and then cutting off communication. A communications disruption could mean only one thing: invasion. Hello there. When we hear this sound in Norway, then we know either the Germans are invading again or the Russians are having a go at it. In Paris they test them regularly, I think they still do, yup, first Wednesday of every month. Norway calls for aid. Real answer: blood banks. It's one of the core metrics the USSR used to foresee a US invasion. They had spies/agents posted in various blood banks taking stats etc., because a massive war causes a huge demand on blood, so knowing this states would prepare beforehand. True story. How would we tell though? The blood center is relentless with their calls all the time. Great, now people will start to hoard blood in plastic bags in the trunk of their car. So it really depends on the countries involved, their allies, their capabilities and limitations, their defenses, access to weapons and personnel. A hypothetical war between North Korea and South Korea will be completely different than a hypothetical war between Russia and Greece. Some signs could be the build-up of troops and training, shifts in national budgets to support more weapons advancements, and definitely probably an increase in focus on foreign relations to gauge where your allies are at. There could be other signs like increasing security measures throughout the country, being inconspicuously on high alert, fixing or reinforcing important infrastructure like important trade routes and ports. Even then, this stuff is all behind the scenes. But those are all signs from a country that might be planning on something or knows something might happen, which is what you would want to avoid. You don't want your enemy to know you're planning something, and you don't want them to know you're anticipating it. This is why a lot of countries are proactive about this stuff, so that it doesn't look like they're prepping for war and are ready when/if it ever happens. Little skirmishes and small attacks are huge indicators of an imminent large-scale attack. Not only is this a way for the enemy to try to get you to waste some of your resources, but also could offer them intel on how you operate/react to threats and what actual kind of resources you have. What about civil war? I feel this is what China is doing to keep Taiwan on edge 24/7. With the seemingly constant buildup of naval forces in the area, it always feels like an invasion is about to start. Also the warships and planes that are always violating boundaries and borders in Taiwanese airspace because they think it's theirs, it isn't. It's probably only a matter of time until Taiwan shoots a plane down and things start escalating, so China can finally come in and take over. You know something's really fucked if BBC London suddenly starts broadcasting on the TV or radio in America. Is that happening lately? This is a special broadcast from the BBC. Please remain calm. Please God save the Queen, repeat. This is when you know shit is about to go down. A government alert that gets sent automatically to your phone telling you to take shelter because missiles are like 20 minutes away. Let's face it folks, we'd be the last to know if a world-ending war was going to happen. Good thing that's never happened. Nervous sweating. Reading this was a gut punch because it's true. It's one of my worst fears, and it eerily feels likely someday. Good indications of a war starting might include things like troop movements, equipment movements, sudden large-scale activations of reserve troops, training exercises, and political rhetoric. A sudden uptick in the purchase of weapons systems, weapons upgrades, munitions, and fuel. If country A suddenly starts training combat soldiers in actual combat scenarios, then starts moving tanks, aircraft and artillery close to the border with country B while country A's politicians start talking about things like sovereignty or national interest, there's a pretty good chance you're about to see a war. From a more civilian context, things like the closing of borders, or additional border restrictions in the absence of a good reason, like COVID, or the restriction of travel or trade to and from a particular region might be indicators. Also, countries will often increase security and have more troops or police operating on the streets, and you may see the passage of new laws or the activation of old laws that provide some sort of martial law provisions. You will also likely see increasing prices for things like fuel as the military stockpiles more of it, making it a little less available. Yeah, you're basically correct. There are a lot of joke answers in this thread and a lot of uninformed answers. And a lot of answers that have the time frame wrong. War is either starting in 10 minutes or in 2 years. From the perspective of someone in the US, the clear signs of a significant war starting in the next few months are large-scale activation of National Guard units, forward deployment of armor and heavy mechanized units to the likely theater of operations, and scheduled redeployment of combat air wings from the United States to bases abroad. You will also see increasing prices for things like fuel. We're fucked. Late-night pizza orders from the Pentagon and White House can say a lot about the severity of any given situation. More pizza equals more people working late equals more cause for concern. Updated to add, I can't find a recent instance supporting this linkage, so it may not be a thing. What data exists is inconclusive and you're old. I would have thought they would have in-house catering for this exact reason. Oh fuck me, someone get the pizza sales stats from DC ASAP. When an Austrian-Hungarian archduke gets assassinated. Who needs war when you have France like these? Was looking for this answer. When Gavrilo Princip shoots Franz Ferdinand, it's a good sign war will break. Dehumanizing the enemy, tying patriotism to support for war, false or outrageous ultimatums to make it seem like it's the enemy choosing war, intolerance for moderate opinions or gray areas. If you're not with us, you're against us. Fear-mongering from politicians and media that there is an imminent threat and we must act now. Intolerance for moderate opinions or gray areas, well, fuck. I read that as demonetizing the enemy. Like subtle policy changes from YouTube are prelude to war. Someone asking what are signs that war is starting soon? On Reddit, and it getting upvoted a lot. I can picture in my mind a world without war, a world without hate. And I can picture us attacking that world because they'd never expect it. Jack Handy. You have more upvotes than up. My dad found out I turned the thermostat down to 76. Down to 76? That's stupid high. 76? It's boot to turn into 1776 if you know what I'm saying, a redcoat. Usually rising tensions and lack of trade. Add an inciting incident and you are good to go. Also either country feeling like it can win or having something to gain. Add all that up and you are good to go. That's why war hasn't broken out in China with the US. Neither side wants to go to war because of the economic ties that would add on to the economic tanking that comes with war. That's why war hasn't broken out in China with the US. Neither side wants to go to war because of the economic ties that would add on to the economic tanking that comes with war. I kinda wonder if Australia is being primed to be a proxy for the war between the USA and China, or if our government is just really bad at diplomacy. Dropping all pretense of respecting the rights and property of citizens. This is a good one, somehow underrated. In South Korea, your utility vehicle SUV, minivan, minibus, cargo truck, etc., is mandated to become a military asset and must be returned to the government once the war breaks out. If you don't, or even hide it, then you get jailed or fined massively by law. Also, it comes with mechanics. Car repair shops get designated as military asset as well. Edit, Korean government allocates certain budget for post-war reimbursement of those cars. Gandhi acquires nuclear weapons. Just one more turn. r/unexpected civ. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.